Well, hello, all of my students. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Welcome to another episode here on the channel. My name is Jay, if you did not know. I'm here to help you to improve your English comprehension, vocabulary, and your English fluency. Well, today I'm not going to read a story, but I am going to teach you through conversation. And I was watching some of the headlines and reading some of the messages on social media about the disaster that is taking place in California. Before I get into some words to describe disaster, I can remember when I was a child, and we always used to say that California was one earthquake away from breaking off from the mainland of the United States. We would always joke about how we didn't want to visit California and stay too long because we were afraid that a catastrophe would happen, such as an earthquake, and we would never be able to get back home. Who would ever have thought that earthquakes would be some of the least of problems? You know, it's very, very sad and unfortunate about the events going on in California. Reading some of the experiences and seeing some of the pictures online, it is very apocalyptic in nature. And so I wanted to talk about not only the disaster that's taking place concerning wildfires in California, specifically in LA and the surrounding cities. I want to talk about some words that are synonymous with disaster. And so if you've been listening closely, I've given you a few already. I've said catastrophe. What else have I said? I think that's the only one I've said so far. I have a list here. And if I forget one or leave one off, drop down in the comments section and let me know. What would you add to my list? So, of course, we have disaster. We have catastrophe. Calamity is another word. Usually we use calamity when we're talking about something in nature that has taken place that has caused harm and detriment to communities, like a tornado or a flood or some type of famine. And in this case, wildfires, okay? Tragedy, that's another word used to describe a disaster. Now, this one can be used, but it's not like the others because it's a more broad term, but you could describe the wildfires and the disaster in LA as misfortune. I mean, I can't even imagine everything that I owned and cherished burned to the ground to rubble. Of course, we're thankful for the people that are not injured or hurt. But, you know, you spend a lifetime accumulating things, buying things worth value to pass down to your children, and in just a few hours, everything is gone. That's some misfortune. I mean, that is just totally, totally awful. Now, another word to describe a disaster, I don't know if I would use this one because we usually use this one when we're talking about things that happened between people. We say a mishap. I don't think you could say the wildfires were a mishap unless it is discovered that someone started the fires on purpose, okay? And of course, that person would be labeled an arsonist, but the people that suffered at the hands of the person who started the fire, they suffered a mishap and misfortune, all right? So these are a few words that I want to use to describe disaster, and I want you to practice using when you're talking about this current event to your friends and family. So you have tragedy, catastrophe, disaster, misfortune, mishap. These are words that I'm looking at from my list that I have here in the notes, which you can get if you like by using the link in the description. Now, I talked about in my previous video how people in LA were experiencing extreme heat, and here in my town we were experiencing extreme cold weather temperatures. Now, for those who may live up north, they may not say 20 degrees or 30 degrees is cold, but to us that is cold. And so it's so amazing how you can have totally polar opposites during the same time of the year. So I told you guys I was going to go outside and possibly film during the snow. It was too cold. The wind was blowing. The sleet and snow was coming down. I didn't want to ruin my camera. And so we had a day of snow and ice, and as of today, the snow has melted away. The roads are back clear. I've been to town a couple of times, and everything is almost back to normal, but it is pretty cold outside for me. It's about 40 degrees outside, whereas last night it was like 20 degrees. So it'll be cold here throughout the week, but I'm not complaining because there are people who have worse conditions than I have right now. Now, when I think about it, I ask myself often, do I prefer the cold weather or the hot weather? I prefer hot weather. I just don't like cold weather. I'll take the fall any day, but cold weather like now, 20 and 30 degrees, I do not like that much. Now, finally, even though we've had cold weather, I've had a lot of visitors from my birds. I talk about them in my videos all the time. I know I'm getting old, but I've been feeding them. I've had a family of cardinals, like 10 cardinals come by at one time, finches, a blue jay is in the yard. I'm trying to attract a woodpecker, but it hasn't come yet. I even made some treats for the birds called bark butter. And so I made that in a pot and put it outside, and it took them about 3 hours to discover it. But ever since they found it, they have been eating it like it was a great dessert and treat. So all is well here. I'm going to try to do more of these type lessons and conversations here on the channel. I don't want to bore you guys with my stories all the time. So I'm trying to add a little bit more to the channel. So I'm doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And of course, I'm still putting my readings and stories on my Parlay with Jay channel, which is going pretty well. I'm excited about it and have a lot of new subscribers there. So you can check that out by going to the link down in the description. So that's going to do it for today's quick lesson. I hope you have enjoyed this short but needful and important lesson. I've taught you some words that are synonymous with disaster. Well, I hope you join me on my next lesson. I hope to see you then. Have a great day.